Hey everybody, David from Atomic Candy, and here's the question of the day. Question of the day. What's your Grail list? Better yet, what's your childhood Grail list? What did you really want as a child and never got? Never found it under the tree, never got it with your cake on your birthday. It just never happened, even though you really freaking wanted it. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and put together a top 10 list of things that I seriously wanted when I was a child and never had. Never gave it to me. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's get started. Number one for me is the Space 1999 Eagle 1 playset. If you don't know what Space 1999 is, you need to look it up. It's a Jerry Anderson production. The same guy who did Thunderbirds and all the Super Marionation shows also did Space 1999, which is one of the best sci-fi action drama series ever made. Seriously, ever made. It's right up there with the original Star Trek and Firefly. Unbelievable. Great special effects, great music, interesting, detailed storylines. It only lasted 2 seasons, but it's a masterpiece of television. They had, from Mattel made a set of dolls, or 8-inch action figures rather. They look kind of like dolls, and they used some of the same molding from the Sunshine family. But they also had the Eagle 1 playset, which was an Eagle vehicle with 3 astronauts from Moon Base Alpha. And I knew a kid, his name was Paul. Sorry, Paul, I won't say his last name. He rode the same school bus as me. And one Christmas, and this was like 2nd grade, we had the Secret Santa on the bus, and he got stuck with my name. I got stuck with the bus monitor's name. Okay, so I had to come up with something for the bus monitor, and he got my name, and he said, "Hey, I know, I'll give you my Space 1999 Eagle playset." And I was like, bah! My mind was blown because I watched that show. I loved that show. I still love that show. It's one of my all-time favorite sci-fi shows. And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. That'd be great. Never happened. Never happened. He never gave me the Space 1999 Eagle 1 playset. To this day, I don't have the Space 1999 Eagle 1 playset, and I really want one. That is an awesome set, awesome show. Dinky made die-cast ones also. I'm just a big fan of Jerry Anderson, and especially Space 1999. Number 2, Stretch Armstrong. Do you remember this thing? They still make Stretch Armstrong stuff. As a matter of fact, Walmart just released stretchy characters of the Rampage figures. Stretch Armstrong is still out there, but he originated in the 70s. And basically, he's just a big rubber body with a plastic head, and it's full of corn syrup. So if you rip or puncture this thing, you're done. It'll turn hard as a brick. And they're really hard to find now. They also used to make the Hulk. They had Stretch Hulk. They had like Stretch X-Ray, which was awesome because he was transparent. I knew a kid down the block who had a Stretch Armstrong. I really wanted a Stretch Armstrong. Never had a Stretch Armstrong. I still don't have a Stretch Armstrong. I never had one. But that's one of my favorites from childhood. Really wanted it. Never had one. Number 3, this is going back a little bit further. The Fisher-Price Little People Castle. This one, for most people who collect the Fisher-Price Little People, the original like 70s and 80s Fisher-Price Little People, the little wooden, they started out as wood and then they became plastic. They got rid of the wood ones because the wood ones had a nail or a screw through them. And so for safety reasons, they switched it to entirely plastic bodies. But the Fisher-Price Little People Castle is a Grail set for pretty much almost all Fisher-Price Little People collectors. And this is an awesome set. If you take a look at it, just look at the size of the playset. First of all, it's a castle. It has a secret room. It has a trap door. It has a dungeon. It's got a dragon. This set's got everything you could want in a little kid's playset. And I have collected Fisher-Price Little People stuff in the past, and I would love to get my hands on a Fisher-Price Little People castle. And this is another one where I knew someone who had it. There was a kid who lived in the same building as me. I grew up in an apartment complex, and he had one, and I used to come over to his house and play with it. And I had the farm set, but the farm set does not compare to the castle set. The castle set is unbelievable, and I still want the Fisher-Price Little People castle. Number four, the Star Wars Death Star playset. The Star Wars Death Star playset. I saw Star Wars in the theaters in 1977. I was there. I saw it in the theaters. I love that movie. I love the toy line. I never had the Star Wars Death Star playset. I never got one. I saw it on TV. I was like, oh my God, that is fantastic. Didn't have a single Star Wars figure. Wanted Star Wars figures. Wasn't going to get them. My mother wasn't going to buy those. Wanted the playset. Never got one. And I went on to have a Star Wars collection, all of which was stolen. And I've talked about that before. And Lady Pop Hunter's not here today because right now she'd be redirecting me. Because when I start talking about having my ex steal my toy collection, she tries to get me to change the subject. She's like, okay, you're done. Primarily because she doesn't want me to get upset. She doesn't want me to get upset about it. But I had a massive collection. I didn't have the Star Wars Death Star playset. I didn't have it, but I had a lot of other stuff, including the original 12 figures, including the Vinyl Cape Jawa mint on unpunched cards, just for starters. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. This is why she always stops me from going on. So yeah, I did build up a really nice Star Wars collection, but it was all stolen. But once again, never did have that Star Wars Death Star playset. It wasn't going to happen when I was a kid. Number five, the MEGO Star Trek collection. And not specifically an individual one, but MEGO Star Trek. I used to watch that show. I grew up with that show. I remember actually seeing MEGO Star Trek commercials on television and seeing the transporter playset and Kirk and Spock, and I'm like, oh man, I would love to have those. Wasn't gonna happen. And this is another set that when I grew up, this was part of the collection that was stolen. Mint unpunched cards, the complete MEGO Star Trek series was part of that. And I'm not going to keep delving into that because I know Lady Pop Hunter, my lovely wife, will see it and be like, don't do that. But if anybody's really interested, I could do a video where I detail what was in that collection. And this is the reason why I was put off of collecting for years after that collection was ripped off. But anyway, loved the MEGO Star Trek line. Never had it as a child. Got it when I got older, but lost it again. And I only have one left, and that's Uhura, mint on unpunched card. I don't have any other Star Trek figures. I haven't pursued it yet. I'd like to, but I haven't. Number 6 on the list, the G.I. Joe Dragonfly. I've always been a huge G.I. Joe fan. I really love the Real American Hero line, the ARA. Dragonfly was just awesome. This was a huge piece. It was impressive. It was an attack helicopter, came with a figure, Wild Bill, but in those days, in the 80s, it had a heavy price tag on it. Some of the Joe stuff did. This was way out of my price range. I did have a few figures that I had purchased myself, 80s figures, but even when I got older and collected them again and had mint on card examples, I still never had the Dragonfly, one of my favorite all-time original 80s G.I. Joe vehicles. And going right along with that, number 7, the G.I. Joe headquarters, the original headquarters that was basically just a front. It looked like a bunker, and it had like a couple of bays for vehicles and a little base and everything. I always wanted that. Once again, it was too high of a price point when I was a child, and again when I grew up and I had mint on card and mint on boxed examples. I still never had the headquarters set, so I still have never acquired the headquarters. Number 8, we're back to MEGO again. The MEGO 12-inch magnetic Batman and Robin. I'm a fan of Batman 1966, the Adam West era. I used to watch that show as a child, and in reruns, but I used to watch that show as a child. And I remember the commercials for this, and they had the little magnets in their hands, and you could cling them to like the side of the refrigerator, and they could pretend like they were crawling. And they had the Batman, they had the Robin. I think they did a Spider-Man, didn't they? But we're talking about Batman and Robin here. Really, really wanted those. Really never had them. Really never had them. Just didn't happen for me. My mother was a real penny pincher. Number 9, the Weebles Haunted House. Big fan also of the original 70s and 80s Weebles sets. And I actually had the camper set when I was a child. Really wanted the haunted house. The haunted house was fantastic. Of course, it is a house playset. It comes with all kinds of furniture. It's got a little witch. It's got a little ghost. It's just a cool set. It's got a trapdoor with a slide and stuff like that. And I remember seeing that in the commercial. Like, oh my God, I really want that, because I've also got the camper. Well, the camper was as far as I was ever going to get as a child. I wasn't going to get anything else. I did have some boxed, like minted boxed examples of Weebles when I got older, but again, alas, that was lost to me as well. And number 10, this is a big one, because this is the reason why I learned at a very young age that there was no such thing as Santa. This is how I found out there was no Santa. And I was like 5 or 6, probably 5 years old. And I was in Montessori school. I was lucky enough to go to Montessori school. I don't know how that happened, but I did. And we were brought to see Santa. And so there I am, little kid, sitting on Santa's lap. What do you want for Christmas? I want the Evel Knievel stunt cycle. 1975 ideal. Evel Knievel stunt cycle. The kid who lived upstairs from me had one. We used to play with it in the hallway of the apartment building. You put the figure on the cycle and you rev it up and you let it go, and he'd take off right down the hall. He'd crash through things. You could set up like cups and he'd crash through them. You could set up a ramp and he'd jump it and crash. And it with the action figure was like 6-inch bendy figure, so you could twist them all up like the real Evel Knievel, because you know that guy's broken like every bone in his body at least twice. And I told Santa, oh man, I really want the Evel Knievel stunt cycle because so-and-so had one. I don't even remember the kid's name now. No problem, kid. It'll be under the tree. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. I never got it. Oh my God. I never got the Evel Knievel stunt cycle. To this day, never got the Evel Knievel stunt cycle, even though I did have a couple of carded examples of Evel Knievel figures when I got older. I never got the stunt cycle. I don't have those figures anymore either. You know why. I keep going back to that. But but that's what made me realize, hey man, why didn't I get my cycle? He said I was going to get it. Either he wasn't the real Santa, or there is no Santa. Oh my God. And can I do one more? Can I make it number 11? Because Lady Pop Hunter does that all the time. When we do top 10 lists together, she always has like an extra one. So I want to do an extra one too. And I want to say G.I. Joe Adventure Team figure with Kung Fu grip. Do you remember those? I remember the commercials for it when I was a child. And this one, it kind of counts and it kind of doesn't. Once again, always been a big G.I. Joe fan. I love G.I. Joe from 1964 to present day. I've always been a big fan. And I had a figure. It was a gift from someone. Okay? I had the Land Adventurer, the one with the flocked hair and beard, Kung Fu grip. And my mother took his rifle, his sticker, and his dog tag because she did not want me playing with military toys. No. So I was stuck with just the figure. Okay, fine. The next day, she took the figure and ripped it apart. Literally, I kid you not, broke it to pieces, snapped the cords, everything, just ripped it to shreds. So I had it like basically 24 hours before she destroyed it. My mother was kind of crazy. No exaggeration. So I had it for a day. But I've always been a fan of those. And that was part of my big collection, was 60s and 70s classic 12-inch G.I. Joe figures. So now let me ask you, what's your Grail list? What did you really, really want when you were a child and you never got it? Never got it as a child. At least never got it as a child. Maybe you got it when you grew up. I hope you did. And if you didn't, I hope you find it. I do. I hope you find it. I hope you get a great deal on it too. Let me know what you think. Tell me what your Grails are. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you don't mind. Check out some of the other videos if you're new to the channel. We do a lot of different things here. Don't let the background fool you. Right now, I'm just kind of being lazy though, I got to admit. We moved, for those of you who are new, we moved, and so we had a huge collection in the background, and now it's gone. It's all packed up. And we just haven't really had much time to set something up to fill in the background, but we're going to get to that here shortly. So sorry about that. Don't let it fool you. So once again, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications button, check out some of the other videos. Let me know what you think, what you would like to have gotten when you were a child, and thanks for watching. I hope to see you again soon.